All right, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't have an intro for this. I don't have a, hey, are you bippity boppity boo? Come join me today. Um, I've just got a raw, real message that is what I've been working through and what I have been processing and what I've been experiencing as I implement the things that I teach about here on this channel. It is consciousness. Yes. It is spirituality. Yes. It is the story of our lives. And I want to let you know about the story of mine. I have been in the process of rewriting my self concept for the better part of the past about 8 years. I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time. When I first started, I just recognized that I didn't believe in myself and that was causing me to shrink back and to be fearful and to be doubtful and to be worried all the time and to really um, just put myself in this little bitty box. And if you've ever felt like that, I can totally understand where you're coming from. And so I started a simple affirmation. I heard something from Wayne Dyer, and that's where I got the idea of affirmations from. I'd never heard of that before. But I just started telling myself over and over again, I believe in me. And I started to change the way that I felt about myself. And I started to have a little bit more confidence. But there was still a part of me that was still gripped by fear. And about 2 or 3 years later, that fear would come to the surface, and I would experience the real. I'd experienced a lot of reflections of fear in my life, but it really hit home when I'd been married for about a dozen years, and the person I was married to said, "I'm done and I'm out," and that just wrecked me because my whole sense of identity was wrapped around being married and yeah, that role, that identity, that was who I was, and that was also my source of validation, and that was my source of worth. And so when that ended, my life basically ended. And I've shared the story about how I fell on the floor, this crying my eyes out, shaking, just feeling like I was below rock bottom. The ego part of me, or the inner critic, whatever you want to call it, was like just nailing me. Like, this is proof that you're not worth it. This is proof why you're not good enough. This what happened just shows you that you don't have what it takes, and you're not good enough. You've never been good enough. And that, just hearing those words didn't doesn't right now like necessarily, I guess, conjure up anything. But in that moment, that was my worst fear. My worst fear was rejection and abandonment, and then amplified that by rejection and abandonment by the person you're married to, with no like reason given for why that happened. And so I felt utterly worthless, and that's why I was crying on the floor. And but I heard this still small voice, the voice of love, say, "You don't know what love really is. You don't know how to love yourself. That's why you're hurting so much." And so that began this process for me of understanding what love is and practicing self love. Now, what I want to share with you guys today, and my vulnerable moment, is I've been in the process for the past several months of teaching these things that I'm talking about here in these videos and amplifying that in a grander scale and incorporating some entertainment into this process. I write a lot of short stories that I feel like I'm channeling this stuff from God, and the messages inside these stories are all about consciousness, and they're all about love, and they're all about our connection with God. And I'm in love with these stories. They're beautiful, and I want to share them with the entire world. I want to share them with you. I have published everything on my own. I have done both the digital version and the audiobook version. I put it together. I wanted to utilize these stories and the lessons that I've learned along the way, and I put everything together through courses and books, and I made a website for it. But it wasn't just about making this website to be another content creator, product, service provider. My biggest passion is relationships. And so I created this hub where relationships happen in the midst of me getting to share these stories and me getting to share these life lessons with you, and me be a part of your story, me be a part of the story of people that choose to come in and connect with me. But here's what I've been facing for the past, really intensely for the past 2 weeks. It's been going on for a while, but it's come front and center, just super, super, super hard. Probably harder than it's ever been before. It is the reflection of every old negative story that I've ever told myself about not being good enough, about being left, about being ignored, about being rejected, about not having what it takes, about honestly failure. And failure is like a crippling thing in apparently in my consciousness. I used to hide failure a lot. When I was a kid growing up, one of the things that was in my household, my dad was very big about do your best. And I equated best to mean that I had to be perfect. And I wasn't perfect, especially at school, and especially with stuff like math. I sucked at math. And I say that, I mean, I might have had more talent if I'd really applied myself, but like I, I honestly didn't do my best. I and I didn't do my best at different points, and then I get to this place where like my grades were really terrible, and I would really push hard for a little bit to get things back up to where I could, maybe get a C. I was really trying to get a B. There was one time where the grading scale was really messed up. Like a B and they only did this for 1 year. I don't even know why they did it, but like throughout the whole school, a B was an 83 down to like a 78. And so a C was like a 78 to a 74 or something like that. And the D was 73 to 70. Like it was really weird. So if you got an 85, no, if you got an 84 all the way up to 100, that was an A. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it? Because it's like even midway through to or maybe it was 85 to 100 was an A, and 84 down to like uh, 79 or 78 or something like that, that was a B. And then, C and D split like 8 numbers. Anyhow, I had been doing really bad. It was in like calculus or no, it was algebra. I've been doing really bad. And just I I didn't really understand any of it, and I was too embarrassed to go talk to my dad, who was really good at math, and try to like say like, "Hey, will you help me?" I think I did one time, and I didn't understand the basics, and he was like, "How do you not get this stuff?" And I felt so embarrassed, and honestly, I felt ashamed, and I don't think that was his intention, but that's the way that I felt, and so like I felt like I can't come in and talk about this stuff, and I felt like I couldn't come talk about my problems. And as I'm saying this stuff, I'm realizing that, I think I still struggle with that. I think that there's a part of me that feels like I can't be really, I'm supposed to be the positive guy. I hear that all the time from people. Oh, you're the positive guy. You don't have any problems. Man, there's stuff I wrestle with too. I'm not immune to things that I talk about here. And I know that a lot of this stuff can seem like really good ideas and really, we're repeating stuff that Neville Goddard and Ernest Holmes and Abraham Hicks and all these great teachers have taught us. Those people had times where like their life sucked too, and where like their old stories showed up, and they didn't know what to do with themselves either. And I want to say that 100% of everybody that is on this channel and on any other channel, that we all have wisdom to share. And this isn't a negative thing about anybody that's a teacher here or anybody that's sharing anything. All of us are still working through our own negative stories. And I recognize that I'm still working through my own negative stories. And so I felt in my spirit to come and share this with you. And I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know. I don't have a plan. I don't have an agenda. I'm doing what I felt God tell me to do, which is sit down and just give you guys an honest insight into all the different facets of what doing this conscious work is, doing what it really is like at every step along the way, in rewriting our story. I teach about rewriting the story. Man, I'm doing it too. All right. So going back to what I was sharing about when I was having issues with with grades in math class. I worked my I got to a place where I think I'd gotten like a couple failing grades on some quizzes and stuff. And what was told to me, what my dad said was, if you don't pull your grade up to at least a B, you're going to be grounded. And I think there was some other punishments, some stuff that I wasn't going to be able to do. And I was, and he was really intense, and I was really afraid. Um, and so I worked my butt off, and I did as best as I could to really apply myself. And I didn't enjoy algebra. It was really hard, and I had a tough time with it. But like my grades started to improve. I was really doing pretty good for a little while, and I felt like, okay, I'm really doing a great job. I think I pulled my grade up from being like a 74 up to like I was on the verge of like being in the 80s, and I'm like, okay, if I can just pull it up 2 more points, I'll be in the B range, even though I should already have a B because it was like an 81 or something like that. Well, when my report card came out, it was right. It was December. It was right at Christmas, and so we had 2 weeks off before we were going to go back to school. And I opened up my report card, and my math grade was an 83, and I was so disappointed. I was not disappointed in myself because I'd worked really hard. I pulled it up like 9 points from like a 74, 73, 9 or 10 points, 74, 73 to get it up to an 83 in like just a couple weeks time. That was like a miracle, man. Like I had done some really good stuff, but because it wasn't perfect, because I'd had this expectation of I've got to have a B or I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get grounded and my dad's going to be disappointed in me. And that fear of disappointment, I'm recognizing it now, man. That's fear of disappointment. And that's something I'm still wrestling with because there's some things I've been really working hard towards, that I not just working hard like in terms of doing the manual work. I've been working hard inside of me. I've been digging into these old stories and ho'oponoponoing the shit out of stuff, and actively affirming and daily, reading out loud, like re-emphasizing this is the story that I'm living, like the stuff that I've read about, like, Neville Goddard talking about, focus on an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. I have been persisting like crazy, and there's something about this process that I am just, this is my guess. If there's stuff in your life that you keep coming up against over and over and over again, and it seems like no matter how hard you try, nothing's budging, nothing's moving, I'm taking this as the universe / God wanting me to push through and wanting me to be proud of myself no matter what shows up in the outer reality. Because persistence is effing hard, man. And especially when you're doing the work and you don't see any results. The things that you're imagining haven't shown up yet. And maybe you've been imagining it for a long time. The stories you're telling yourself, you're repeatedly telling yourself, you're getting into that state of the wish fulfilled, and nothing's shifting. And you start to wonder, like, is it me? What am I doing wrong? I've been asking myself that question. What am I doing wrong? And it could be that maybe I'm not doing anything wrong. Maybe I'm in the middle of the story, but the ending hasn't gotten here yet. And I'm supposed to be living in the end, right? But it is kind of hard with some things. I'll be honest. It's really hard when it comes to money to live in the end when your dollars keep going away, and no matter how much affirming and how much meditation and how much like putting yourself out there and believing that it's going to start coming back to you, and it's like a desert. I'll be super honest. That's the way that it's felt for me. I know that what I do is really awesome, and I know that my heart and my desire is to help and serve people, and that's what I do when I show up here on this channel. That's what I do when I show up in my communities. I'm here to serve. I'm here to bless. I'm here to represent love and be love. And sometimes love gives And sometimes love gives, but love feels really lonely. And I've got some beautiful people in my life. I've got some beautiful people in my community that are incredibly encouraging to me, and I appreciate them. So I'm not isolated entirely on this stuff. This is me being raw about what conscious creation can be like, and what being in this journey of overcoming the past. I recognize that there's something inside of me. I don't think it's entirely stuff that I created, but I think there's stuff in my family line. I think there's stuff in my energy field that is very much scarcity consciousness model, very much lack consciousness model, and I recognize it, and I am doing as much energy clearing as I can, because I don't want this crap in me. I want abundance consciousness in me. I choose abundance consciousness in me. I also wonder if part of this process is, even if the world doesn't accept you, will you still choose yourself? And my answer to that is yes. I still choose me. So regardless of what my results are, regardless of whether anybody buys any of my stories, or anybody buys any of my courses, or anybody subscribes, I've got 352 subscribers, and I love all of you guys. Thank you very much. Whether or not my videos get views, whether or not my subscriber count goes up, whether or not my business succeeds or fails, regardless of that, I still choose me. And maybe that's what this whole journey has been about, because my whole life I wanted to be chosen by other people. I wanted to be validated by other people. I wanted to be accepted by other people. I wanted the approval of my dad when it came to my math scores. And getting that 83, I didn't finish that story. Here's what I did. Because I was so embarrassed, and because I was so ashamed of not getting to that B mark, I took a pen and I turned the 3 into an 8, but I screwed it up because one 8 looked like a regular 8 and the other 8 would look huge. And it was obviously a fabrication. And so I tried to make it look like the teacher that wrote it in there wrote it down wrong. And so I went back over the second 8 2 times. And now it looked like an Incredible Hulk 8, and then the little, Bruce Banner 8 next to it. But I knew my dad wouldn't buy that. So I waited till he went to work, and I showed it to my mom, and I made up some, BS story about what was going on. And she's like, oh, okay, because my mom trusts me. Beautiful lady. She signed off on the report card, and I thought that the teacher would just check to see whether or not my mom signed it. And so I got to school. I was pretty nervous. I got through first period, no problem. I got through second period, no problem, and I thought I was done. And then in third period, somebody knocked on the door and came in and said, yeah, your homeroom teacher wants to see you. And so I went to homeroom, and I tried to play it cool, like I didn't know what was going on. And she pointed to the thing. She's like, what is this? The 2 different 8s, obviously me forging a number. And I was like, I don't know, you wrote it in there. It's ballsy. I didn't have those same kind of balls when I was sitting in the principal's office, though. He asked me directly. He's like, did you change your report card grade? And I said, yes, sir. I got to call your dad, right? Yes, sir. So then I got to sit with my dad and explain to him why I was so ashamed of myself and embarrassed about not just coming out and saying, like, hey, I did my best. And my best wasn't enough to make the grade that you wanted me to make. But I want to be proud of myself for everything that I did. And maybe that was the point of me sitting here and making this video. And I have no idea how long this is. Maybe this is, I know some people are like, well, if a video is too, you know what, who cares? I'm making this video because I choose to. I'm making this video because I'm being raw and I'm being honest about my life and about myself and about some insights into me that you might not know. Aside from being the guy that writes a lot of awesome stories that I come here and I share with you guys, aside from being the guy that is always talking about growth and is always talking about how to change our story and see the best in ourselves and the best in others, I still believe that. And maybe that's the heart of what this video is about. Because about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, no, about an hour ago, I did a meditation. And when I came out of the meditation, usually in a meditation, you feel better when it's over. I came out of the meditation just gripped with fear. It was all in my feet, this deep energy of just fear, dread, anxiety, worry, panic. It was in my feet and it was in my guts. And I was like, why am I like, I just meditated. Like I should feel, and it's almost like I landed in some foreign world. I didn't even know what was going on. And it crippled me. And I prayed and I connected with God and I surrendered everything. And it was hard. Like it was like it didn't want to leave. The energy didn't want to leave. And I finally was just like, this is not who I am. I am not fear, and I'm not going to let fear rule me. I am love. I choose love. I am love. I choose success. I am success. That's the way that I see myself. I am successful. The whole world might show me a different story, but fuck it, I don't care. I am successful. And there are people that might not ever talk to me again. It's okay. I choose me. I choose me. And then I felt like I needed to get up and move around. So I got up and I moved around for a little bit. And after I did that, Spirit was like, go make a video. What do I talk about? You'll know what to say. So that's what I've shared with you guys. And I appreciate you listening. If you're still here, I appreciate you listening. I think that sometimes while we're going through these processes of rewriting our stories and living from the end and choosing a different story, that old story is like, how many Die Hard movies are there? It's like that. Keeps coming back and coming back and coming back, and it doesn't want to go away easily. And every time it comes back, it's an opportunity for us to show ourselves how solid we are in being the person that we choose to be, and not going back into the old story, and not choosing to live in fear anymore. Honestly, there's a lot of reasons why I could be afraid right now. A lot, big ones. But I'm not fear. I'm love. So if this resonates with you, then let me know in the comments. And I hope that this inspires you. I hope this gives you some perspective, because oftentimes, we can jump on YouTube looking for answers. I've jumped on YouTube looking for answers a lot. And honestly, the meditations help, and the affirmation tracks help, and the rampages help. They help get into a better place. But at some point, we've got to turn the videos off, and we've got to be with ourselves, and we've got to ask ourselves, okay, who are you really? And regardless of whether or not you see any results, you get the manifestations of what it is that you want, are you still going to choose you? Are you going to love yourself regardless of whether or not your SP comes around and chooses you? Are you going to believe in the value and the worth of what it is that you do, and the magnificence that you bring to the world, whether or not anybody ever buys anything from you? Does somebody buying something from you, does that actually make what you do worth it, or worthy? Or is it worthy because you made it? I'll be honest. I want people to buy my stuff, honestly. But if nobody doesn't change the worthiness of it. It's worthy because I made it. And I'm awesome and amazing. And everything that I've created is awesome and amazing. And regardless of whether or not the world, anybody else, says anything about it, that's what I choose to believe. And in this place where this consciousness, this universe, or whatever, this three-dimensional reality, where so much of our belief system is based on what it is that we see, maybe that's the thing that I'm getting out of. And I'm sharing with you my honest process. There's a powerful story that I've been telling myself. I haven't experienced it yet, but I will, and nothing's going to stop me. Don't let anything stop you from living your awesome story too. All right. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have an awesome day.